I'm pretty sure more people will come soon, but it's good for now.
Yeah, no, this is totally fine. Yeah, we'll let the people trickle in. We'll keep updating where we are in the presentation, so hopefully no one gets lost. But yeah, we can get started. Thanks everyone for showing up. I don't know where you are in the world, but maybe it's the evening for you, so thank you for making the time out of your day to come to this. So I'm a little bit about me. I'm Lillian. I work at Postman. I don't know how many of you have worked with Postman or have even heard of Postman. You can just say me or anything like that. And it's totally fine if you don't know. It's not really expected of you at all. But also just to kind of see who the audience is. Are you guys students in high school, middle school, college even? What's the demographic here that I'm looking at? High school, high school. Nice, nice. Everyone starting CS in school, high school? Have we taken APs yet, or are we pre-APs? Undergrad, cool. Ah, okay. Cool, nice. You guys are getting a good head start. All right, so no, that's cool. Nice to hear. All right, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Let me. All right. Everyone can see? All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Lillian. I already said that I'm a developer advocate at student programs at Postman. Happy to see all of you. And today I'm going to really be delving into the world of APIs and introducing you to APIs, how we use them with Postman and how you're going to use them in industry work. So a little bit about who am I. I've told you I work at Postman already. Developer advocates, if you're not familiar with them, we introduce code and we educate people a lot. So we do a lot of technical work, but we also love educating people how to use those technical work. So I teach students in particular how to use Postman and how to learn APIs and how to use them in your work. So previously I was at Google as a developer advocate. I've done a mix of software engineering and developer advocacy. I ended up on developer advocacy because in the end of the day, I love teaching. I love that intersection of tech and education. And yeah, when I had the opportunity to work directly with students, I really wanted to get my hands dirty with that. So I love having impact on students and really seeing them grow from there. So that's really why I'm here. A little bit more about me. I'm a University of Maryland alum. I graduated not too recently, or not too far ago. It was class of 2022, so only a year out about now. And I love Thai food, cats, and trivia. I also play volleyball a lot in my free time. Yeah. A little bit more about what we're going to do today. We're going to give you a background about API education, why it's so important for you, and then also Postman student programs, which is the team that I work on. What is an API, obviously, and then more about APIs behind the scenes, what makes them work, what is a client and a server, what is the request response pattern, anatomies of it, and then we're going to really get our hands dirty and try things out. To end, we're also going to do a swag challenge because obviously what is a good hackathon workshop without some swag? So yeah, we're probably going to end a little bit earlier, so there's going to be time for questions. If you want to ask me anything about career stuff or just APIs in general, open for discussion. We are a smaller group, so we can also just talk about whatever too. Yeah, so getting into it, API education. Why is it important? Why do we care so much? If you've ever seen APIs, I know you guys are all in high school, but hackathons, APIs are super useful for this, side projects, all of that stuff. You're probably not using them in your AP courses or in like your own self-studying, but it's not as scary as you think. In fact, 98% of Fortune 500 companies use Postman for API development. Postman aims to make API development really easy for you. And I'll explain a little bit why it wasn't so friendly for users before, but just looking at this spread of companies, you can tell that you're in good hands with Postman. It's a very popular company, and chances are, if you get used to it now, once you go into industry work, you're going to be very familiar with it and in a good place. So, okay, so this is a little bit earlier on than I would show you, but this is the Student Expert Certification Program. So if you're interested at all in APIs, this presentation is going to go over the basics of it and going to show you a few requests. But if you want to do something more advanced and you want to get more comfortable with things, I highly, highly recommend that you do the Student Expert Program. This is a free program that we have. It teaches you all about APIs, a really in-depth course. At the end, we give you a certification, and it actually leads to leadership opportunities. So if you finish the expert program, you get your certificate, you can apply to be a student leader on campus, and you can host events, you get stipends from us, you get swag from us, the biggest thing, and lots more. You have an exclusive Discord channel. It is really cool. Yeah, we have a really tight-knit community of student leaders. So what really is an API? Little pulse check first. Which of these services include APIs or involve APIs? We have a user login. That really includes all of GitHub, Instagram, Facebook, Google, all that good stuff. B, Spotify, which I'm sure all of you use, unless you're Apple Music, which is weird. C, we have a payment system. And then D is some kind of messaging system. Does anyone have a guess? You can just type it in chat if you have anything. And if you're not sure, that's totally fine. How many of us know what APIs are beforehand? Have you heard of APIs? Have you even worked with APIs before, maybe? Anyone? It's totally fine if you haven't. A lot of people probably haven't earlier on. I know I definitely did not touch APIs until I was in college, but yeah, all of these actually involve APIs. Yeah, you can use all of these. Spotify is also a great API that we're going to go over later in the presentation. So APIs, we've been doing a lot of talking about APIs, but not really explaining what's the actual acronym for. It's Application Programming Interfaces. That is misspelled, but Application Programming Interfaces. And basically, it's a contract that enables code to talk to code. It enables services to communicate with each other. And also businesses can open up product features for developers to use. So everything we use is kind of an API. So if we want the weather, that's pulling from an API. Spotify allows for developers to pull from their API. So if you want any data from it, you can get it from an API. These are really the building blocks of modern software. So when I was talking about why it was so ugly to work with APIs before, this is kind of the reason. Back in the old days, I was not part of that, but there used to be curl command lines only for calling APIs. This is the thing on the left. It is in the terminal, and it's not very readable. I don't think I can really interpret that, and maybe if I did, it would be a lot of Googling after, compared to what we have in Postman, which is a very readable wrapper. So you can think about Postman as a wrapper in the same way that GitHub is kind of a wrapper to Git. So we just provide a big, nice UI. You can read everything really great. You can put query parameters just like that, really nicely labeled. We have different sections for everything, and we have cool import features. It's really great to use, but yeah, just to give you some context as to how bad it was and how good we have it now, this is kind of what's going on. So let's take a look at Postman and see what it actually does. Let me see. I will give you this workspace also later on, but let's see. Here. Let's see. Let me share my whole window, actually. Sorry. Window. Okay. Wow, that doesn't allow me. Okay. Well, sorry. API 101. Here. For some reason, it doesn't let me share whole windows, but I can do tabs, which is fine. Yeah, so here is Postman. We have both a browser and a desktop app. Here we're using the browser just because it's easier. You don't have to download anything at the moment. Actually, all of you guys can look at this right now. I can send over the link. It is, let's see. Here. Let me send this in the chat, and then you can look at it at the same time. You can also look at the slides and you can have all of the, yeah, here's the link. I'll also give the slide deck so you can like look at all the links together. You can look at the slides later. You don't have to take any notes or anything. Just chill for the ride. But yeah, if you want to open up the workspace, you can follow along. We're also going to do some interaction later. But yeah, we're going to take a look at a couple of different things. Here is, let's start with Google, the Google URL. So when you go into Google, you have this page and you can look up a ton of things. That's essentially what we're throwing in here. We're taking this URL, the Google URL, and then putting it into here. You'll see that there's a lot going on. These things on the left-hand side, those are collections. The API 101 hackathons, this is called a workspace. You don't need to know all of these terms quite yet, just as long as you're familiar with them. But this is pretty much how it looks like, the structure of it. But yeah, once we get back into the homepage, you'll see that there's already a response here. We can clear it, but here we have a GET request. This is one of the different types of methods we can get. We can do GET, we can do POST, PUT, PATCH, DELETE. These are all things that are part of the CRUD methods. GET really pulls data from an API endpoint. So our endpoint in this case is google.com. And I'll go over more of that later. But just to give you an idea of what it really does, when we press send, it brings back all of this stuff. Whereas if we do this, do right-click inspect, and this is pretty much everything that we're going to be seeing over there, but just in a little bit of a neater way. But yeah, and then if we really wanted to, we can also preview it. There's no formatting, but it does happen. It does preview here. And the status is 200 OK. The time it took is 116 milliseconds, and all that good stuff. And we'll get to it a little bit later, but I just wanted to show you, I wanted to just show you what it kind of looks like for now. Now, this is really annoying how I can't share the whole window, but we carry on. Okay. All right, so what's going on behind the scenes? Like I showed you how it really kind of worked or what it looked like, but what does it really do? So APIs work best with the restaurant analogy. This is the world famous restaurant analogy, and I'm going to show it to you today. We're going to talk about APIs in the context of a restaurant. APIs itself are the waiter. We have users, which is the user, and then the backend, who is your chef, your kitchen, whatever you want to call it. So me as a user, I really want chicken gnocchi soup, right? I really want to order this, but I don't know how to make chicken gnocchi soup. I am not going to make it myself. I am expecting it to be made for me. So I call the waiter over. In this case, it's the API. I call the waiter over, and the waiter really knows what's going on. The waiter has that connection between the restaurant and the chef and me. So the waiter will come to me. I will ask him for a chicken gnocchi soup. He'll be like, okay, coming right up. And he goes over to the chef and he says, this is the order. I need a chicken gnocchi soup. That is called a request in API world. The chef will then make the chicken gnocchi soup with its own resources. This is in the analogy sense. The chef would be the server. So the server would pull data, which would be my chicken gnocchi soup, and return it if successful. So if we have all the ingredients for it, if we have everything that we need to make chicken gnocchi soup and it went well, then we return it back to the waiter to give back to me. So that is called the response part of it. So putting it all together kind of like this, we have our client, which is our user, and it's usually from the browser that you make inputs to. So let's say that you're filling in a login form. We're going to request some data. We call the API. The API kind of translates your language from English to machine. The server then returns a response, and then it brings it back to you as a client, and you wouldn't know what was happening on the back end. It's just appearing for you. All right. So what are some examples of APIs that you've come across? Does anyone know any of APIs? I know we've talked about a few like Spotify, and I showed you like Google, but has anyone come across any APIs or know any APIs that you're going to work on for the hackathon? Ooh, what's yours? ChatGPT? Yeah, that's a really popular one. Yeah, and if you don't know, I'm going to show you some public APIs that you can use for your projects. But yeah, so ChatGPT is a great one. We also use a lot of Hugging Face, which is another ML and AI kind of open source public API. That one's a great resource if you ever want to use something like that. There's a text summarizer. There's a sentiment analysis one. Yeah. Yeah, Rapid API has a lot of great ones. Pomodoros, what does Pomodoros do? That sounds cool. Oh, weather APIs? Yeah, that's a cool. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they had an API for that. Is that just like the timer that they give? Hmm. Yeah, but there's an API pretty much for everything, which is what we're probably going to come across. Yes, there's an API for everything. Twilio, which is a messaging system. Weather APIs, like someone mentioned, yeah. Stripe payments, Discord and Slack are great ones. I don't know if anyone's doing that, but Discord's a really great API, really super easy to use, and really fun. Yeah. Have you made a bot before? Oh, nice. Yeah, SendGrid emails. I'm honestly not really used that one, but apparently SendGrids is a good emails one. But yeah, webhooks, nice. Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, Google. There's so much. It's more so a matter of finding them, really, at the end of the day. So digging deeper into requests and responses, the methods that's made of a method, endpoint path, parameters, headers, and body. So let's talk about methods and endpoints a little bit. So this is the bare minimum for a request. You can see that we did the google.com endpoint before, but that was completely just the homepage. Now we can see that there's a search. So we have firstly the method. We talked about this a little bit before. So get, post, put, and patch, and delete. So get is when you retrieve information. Post is sending information. Put and patch are used maybe interchangeably sometimes, but the more technical thing is put if you're completely changing the record, or patches if you're just updating a part of it. Deleting is also just deleting information. And then you have the address of the server, which is made up of the protocol, the host, and the path. So the path can be a little bit more customizable. In this case, we have search as the path, but otherwise it would just be the home page if we cut off that path. And parameters. So parameters are a big thing. We want to add specificity to a path. We can do that in either one or two ways. Query parameters. This is kind of how we add search parameters in Google search. So what are we searching for? Yeah, we want to add query parameters. We want to add a question mark, which is kind of the main tell of whether it's a query parameter. And then we have key value pairs. So here you can see that what they searched is a cat. And then next is nature, and orientation has to be landscape. But yeah, query parameters and path parameters, or just query parameters, really depend on your API documentation. So just reading documentation is kind of a skill of its own. I know it's tedious, but it's really helpful. And path parameters, these usually come after a // It's a dynamic element. It holds an ID. This is also just something that you should look at the API documentation for. Yeah. Headers, another thing. These are key value pairs for non-payload information. There's a ton of common standard ones. I will show you more of the example ones, but most of the time when you make a request, in Postman at least, there's a lot of auto-generated headers that happen for you. But some of the common ones are authorization, where you need to add API keys or bearer tokens, access tokens, content type, which is what kind of type that you're expecting, like a JSON file or anything like that. But yeah, pretty much like that. And you can also see the link for more headers. I'll share the slides later so you can look at it too. Yeah, so for requests, the last thing I think is body on here. This is the data payload. It can come in many different types: JSON, HTML, text, just raw text, form data. But yeah, it's a lot of different things. This is usually when you want to update data or just create data. So you're just pushing this through the request. You can see that there's an example of JSON being passed through jane.doe@email.com. And then, yeah, so you just put it as JSON, you push it, and then usually whatever your request is, you just add that data to your server. And yeah, So pulse check, what goes into a request? It's basically everything I just said. It's the body, the methods and endpoints, the headers. Did I miss anything else? I'm not sure if I did, but yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, then you can feel free to stop me at any point, but I think we're chugging along. All right. Yeah, going ahead, status codes. This is something you've all probably come across at some point. There is 200 okay, which is the good to go. Everything is not broken. 201 created. 404 not found is probably what you're really familiar with. Maybe when you're like surfing the web or something like that. Yeah, it's just not found, resource not found. Then we have headers and body data. Responses usually have this kind of table of status codes. They follow a table actually. So 200s are your successes. They all mean different things, but as long as you see the first number, you kind of know which direction you should be looking in. The 300s are redirection. The 400s are client errors, which means it's something that you're doing wrong. And then 500s are usually something that the server's doing wrong. So this is where 404 is. If you ever want a deeper explanation of HTTP status codes, you can look at this. This is HTTP cats. My coworker actually really loves this one. Whenever she has a status code that she wants to add documentation to or writes an error message, this is what she puts as like an image. But if you click on one, there's actually an explanation, which is really helpful. Oh, we have a question. Are fives most severe? No, I don't think it's a matter of more severe. It's more so of a matter of whose fault is it really? I would say 500s, usually in my case, it's something that I can't control. Like it's usually out of my control. 400s are usually when I'm like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. But it's not really a matter of severity. Well, 200s are definitely the good ones, but the 300s are just something that's happening, like redirection, but everything else is okay. Yeah. All right. A good question. Pulse check. Why do you think status codes are important? This might be an obvious one. Yeah, so we know what's happening. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's great for debugging. It's great for having a standard way for all developers to see if something's going wrong. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can know what's to do next. What's the worst thing in developing is when you have an error that has no description and it just is breaking. So having something that you can really reference, and especially having this table of, okay, I got a 400 error. I know that I'm doing something wrong, and maybe it says a bad request. Okay, yes, maybe my, or 401, maybe I'm not authorizing correctly. That's a great step in the first direction of debugging, because debugging can take hours and hours and hours for a real software developer and industry work. So having these status codes are really great. And if you actually are curious about it, there are a lot of status codes that are kind of like an Easter egg. So I think some of them have some weird names. So if you're ever curious about it, definitely check it out. There's some cool history with status codes. Great. So we're going to actually get into playing around with some Postman collections right now. We have this one that's Postman library API v2, which is just our library API. We developed an API that kind of creates, you can create a book, you can add a book to the library, and you can get a book. So I'm going to just share this link to you guys, and then we can kind of go over it. Let me send the link. Actually, you guys should take this. Yeah, I'm going to send this collection link again, or this workspace link again, and you can just fork all of it and just follow along, because there is a part where you can actually add books to our library too, and we'll be able to see it in real time. Yeah, so just going over everything in here, because we didn't get a chance to before. We have, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. So this one is actually, if we did Hack United here, and looking at the query parameters, getting rid of all of that stuff. Looking at the query parameters, you can see there's the question mark. We have the path. We have the question mark. We have Q equals hack plus united, ampersand to separate it, and then all these other things that I'm assuming Google is using, and we just don't know. But I'm sure it means something to them. But yeah, what we're going to do is just take this entire thing, copy it, go into, oh, yeah, you guys didn't even see the Google search. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, you can't even see the actual bar. Anyways, this is what's going on. This is basically this is what's going on. I basically showed you everything that was here. So you can see there's the search path, you have the question mark, you have queries right here, and you have the ampersand to separate everything. And then everything that Google uses, we're not going to understand it, but it's there for them. So that is the whole Google search bar. If we send it, you can actually, let me see here. Let me show you again so you really get the full gist of what Postman does. You see this has nothing, and we can't understand what those query parameters were. If we put that whole link in there, it auto-generates with every single key and value pair that there was. So it makes your life a lot easier. It also auto-generates all of the headers that you could possibly need. There's no body because we're just getting information. But yeah, once we save and send, this is what we get back. And it has all of the, oh, well, this happens because I think I've requested too many times, but be careful when you're doing API requests with certain APIs that don't really allow for it. This is already detecting that there's like some unusual activity. So usually it takes some time to cool off. But yeah, that should return the actual search results of this page. This page would have showed up, but yeah, getting back to it. All right, so moving on, that was the Google workspace. Feel free to work with that whenever. We're gonna get into, oh yeah, let's do a little bit of Spotify. So Spotify is another really cool API that you can work with. The authorization is a little bit complicated. Honestly, all APIs are just really complicated with authorization. Otherwise, using them is super cool. We can get into the documentation here. There's the web API, and you can have all the information that you need from this. So you have all the instructions of getting started, how to get an access token, and then the API reference is really what you want. So here's the reference. Let's see, like you want to get an album. There's so many things that you can use. Here's the ID that you can fill in, the market that you can fill in, and you just try it. You can get all of this stuff. The response sample, so you can kind of parse through and see, okay, what do I want from the response and how do I use it in my code? But yeah, you can use, and everything is right here. But we pulled a few requests here. We're only getting the artist, we're going to browse the new releases, and then we're going to create a playlist and get the current user, and then we're going to get that playlist to see if it worked. So let's first get the artist. We can see that there's a ton of headers in here. Authorization is inherited from the parent. You have to make a new token. So this is all something you can find online. This takes maybe like 30 minutes or something, not even. That's just me reading the documentation sometimes too. But it really isn't that bad. Here's a variable. Postman allows for variables, so you can keep variables secret and keep everything safe for you. And no parameters, you just send it, and it takes a little bit longer. But yeah, we have the artist, and then we have a path variable or path parameter, which is this ID of an artist, which you'll find out soon. And while we're waiting for that, yeah, some of these take a little bit longer than some others, but all right. So now that it's returned back, we can see that it's a status 200 okay. So everything's all good. We can see what came back as the response. Let me just zoom this in a little bit more. But yeah, so we have external URLs, followers. This is, and we can reveal who the artist is. It is Pitbull now. I put in the ID of Pitbull right here. And that is a path parameter. Popularity is 81, which I would probably have to go to the API documentation to kind of see whatever 81 means. Thanks for calling out that we only see the Spotify API documentation. My bad, guys. But yeah, you can see the URI. And then here is all of the other images that come along with it. So let's say you wanted to take all of the top whatever 50 artists or something. Maybe this means like it's 80, he's 81. I don't know, in popular. I really doubt that. He's not that big anymore, but yeah, if you wanted anything from this response, you can parse for it, store it as a variable in Postman, and then use it somewhere else in your app. But yeah, maybe you wanted to find artists with the genres dance pop, Miami hip hop, pop, or if you've ever seen any of those Spotify web apps that people create, like it's kind of like a Spotify Wraps, but it does it at any time, and you can see like a pie chart of your genres. That's a really great project to do with the Spotify API. The documentation is great. I highly recommend it if you ever get the chance to work with it. You can make a couple other ideas is you can make a Slack app that gives recommendations or something like that, like every day, like give me a song recommendation. There is actually an endpoint that gets you recommendations for a user and gives you like the top recommendations or something like that. So there's a lot of ideas here. You just have to find the cool APIs. But yeah, this is just getting Pitbull's information, but you can change it to any other ID by switching it out here. Looking at new releases, this is kind of the same thing. There's no other parameters. Just gotta wait for another request, but not sure why these ones take so long, but yeah, this one we can see the documentation for this. So we can see releases. I don't know where releases would be. I'm assuming that's gonna be in, sometimes it just kind of takes a little bit of looking for it, but albums, get new releases of albums. Okay, yeah, this is where I found it from. You can actually take this curl request, and what's really cool is that you can also just do a new, or you can just do import, I think. So import, you can put your curl request right here, and it just makes it just like imports everything for you. The only thing is this isn't a real bearer ID, so you would have to add your own authentication, but otherwise this is completely correct. You can just send it, and then that's pretty much how I made mine too. So yeah, so let's see, where did it go? Yeah, so this is browse new releases, and it came back 200 okay, so we're in clear. We can actually look at the new releases that came out, and this is up to date, so everything's, so we can see the headers that came back, but all we really want is just the information. So you can see that it comes back as an object, a JSON object as albums. We can see that Doja Cat dropped something, so I actually didn't know that. So this is all the available markets. It's a lot of them. You can scroll past them. Images here, it's called Paint the Town Red. So the important things are name, release date, which was today apparently, and let's see. I think this is, yeah, Vente Conmigo. This is by, I don't know who it's by. I think it's in the beginning. By Fade. And then I don't know how many it goes through, but you can kind of see the gist of how the object is structured and how you can kind of parse through it. And parsing through JSON is pretty simple. If you take the Student Experts program, we do a lot of that and getting you used to that. I need to share this tab. All right, so sorry. But yeah, as we were looking at it, you can kind of see the response here. This is the album type, single. We have the link to it. We have that it's Doja Cat by the name. We have the URI, available markets, and then we have the next kind of album that we have. And it just goes like this. It's a pretty long response. So parsing through it is really simple. As I was saying, you can do the Student Expert program. We do a lot of teaching on that to kind of get the information you need, but it's really simple with Postman. Yeah, so if we wanted to create a playlist, actually, we can, this is my username. This is the base URL, which is just api.spotify.com. We have playlists, which is our endpoint. So this is our endpoint. We actually want to post because we want to create a new playlist now. This time we have a body. So we're doing a raw JSON body. We want to name it just a test playlist and a demo for United Hacks, public true. So you can probably see this if you wanted to, but yeah, I actually don't want to send it in because it takes too long, but I created an example, which is great. You can show an example response without having to call it because sometimes APIs have a rate limit, so you don't want to hit that. But yeah, that's the cool thing with Postman. You can just show someone what the response would be and how you would pull or parse that data. Yeah, so this was a 201 created status code. This one is not a collaborative playlist, but it does have a description in here. It has the followers, which is 0. So sad. It has the name, test playlist, display name, the href link, and then we have the type playlist. And then if we want to see if we're really not convinced that it's not working, we can also do another endpoint, which is getting the playlist and getting a specific playlist using an ID. So getting the ID, we can also look at this. I got the ID from this response, actually. So you can see I got the ID from this field. And then just setting this response, we can check it out, what we get. And it's probably going to be the same information. It's just getting the same information that we created a playlist. It still has nothing in it, but we'll just do it. All right. And then after this, we'll do a little bit more playing around with our Postman library, and then we'll go through the rest of it. There's not that much, and then just open up for a Q&A. This takes forever. Oh, okay. Well, things happen. I actually haven't tried this one. Maybe it's the wrong ID, but we don't have that much time left, so you can debug it or something like that. I added that one right before, so I'm not sure if that one works completely. But this one is, I just wanted to show you guys the Postman library API because this is a public API that we provide. It has a lot of documentation for it, and it's what we use in the student expert program. So you don't really need authentication, which is what you would need for Spotify. So using this would be great for you. Adding Postman rules, please feel free to use it. You can add a book just by creating the raw body. You can just switch out the title, the author, the genre. I don't have a book in mind. Does anyone have a book that they want to add or know the title and author off the top of their head? Just any book. Basic mathematics. Surge, okay. Nope, the wrong one. Basics and mathematics. Surge. Okay. All right. Self-help. Educational. And then it doesn't matter what year it was published, but we're gonna save this, and then we're gonna publish it. No token provided. That's great. That's so great. Oh, I think this was, where is it? So authorization with this, I don't really mind showing you this one because this one's completely to the public, but Postman rules is our password. You can add variables through collections and workspaces, but we have the variable set, API key set as Postman rules. So here we obviously got a 401 authorized, which means that something with our authorization isn't working. So we have API key, oh, this is in a query parameter. We want to maybe see if that one doesn't have to be. So let's see, authorization. This one's put as query parameters. Let's try header maybe. And let's send it again. No token provided. All right, that's unfortunate, really. Because then this one gets sent over here. Postman rules. Body is all good. All right, let's see. This is just live debugging, but it happens all the time. All right, API key, header, let's see, query parameters. All right, let's see if this one works. First of all, this one gets all of the books. It was just working. Love that. Yes, but anyways, this is a list of all the books that would show up. These are our default books. Why is it not working? Unfortunate. Postman rules. No token. Anyways, great thing we have examples. You can try it out on your own. Make sure that you're adding Postman rules as the API key so you can look at all the documentation here. We have it in the collection variables. Maybe that's something I'm doing wrong, but yeah, it should be really simple to use. I don't have time to really go over why it's not working right now, but I want to make sure that you guys get to see what's going on. So list of all the books. In the perfect world, we would add a book and then it would show up as a response like this. And then when we get the list of all the books, we would get to see all of your books that are added. And if you actually add a book right now with your post request, you'll get to see it and everyone will get to see the same books. The books in here do refresh every 3 days. So it'll only exist there for 3 days, but it's pretty cool to kind of see what your changes do. So yeah, so please try it out. All of these collections are open for you. If you ever want to fork something, you can just go to 3 dots on the side of the collection, create a fork, and then it just takes you to this page. Add it to your workspace that you want, and then just rename it whatever you want. But yeah, so that is pretty much all of these free APIs. Let me go back to the presentation itself. So pulse check, what is CRUD and how does it relate to HTTP methods? Does anyone remember the 4 main ones? Or at least just one of them? Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. Most actions are going to be one of those. But yeah, it is get, post, patch, delete. So get retrieves data, post creates data. So whenever you want to create a playlist, you want to create a trivia question, you want to create something, that's post usually. Get is whenever you want to read from something, you want to read a list of songs or you want to read the list of the newest albums. Patch is when you want to update something. So let's say I wanted to update a book, I would just patch. I would create a request by patch. Yeah, and then you delete, which is a really important one too, because we always need to delete things. There's also really cool Postman tools when we use API development. We want to also generate code sometimes to make this request. So if you're using something like JavaScript or you're using Node.js or you're creating a server, we have all of these code snippets on the side of Postman that have these code gens. So I'll show you also too. So let's say if we wanted something to call this, we have a curl. We also have all of these. We have Dart, we have Go, Native, we have Kotlin, JavaScript, lots of JavaScript, PHP, Python, R, Rust. So if you're ever in a tight knit, like especially for hackathons, if you're ever like running short on time, just try to use this as much as you can, honestly. Yeah, so we have, where's JavaScript fetch. I use this one a lot. This one's really helpful. Also, we have a great thing called Postbot now. Where did I put it? But I'm not sure where it is actually on the UI, but sometimes it comes up and it'll just pop up in the corner of your screen. But Postbot is this really new thing that was announced. I think it's really fresh, like maybe 2 weeks ago that we announced it. But Postbot is our AI tool that says, oh, when you're testing, it's in when you're testing. So testing we didn't go over, but if you do the student expert program, we have an AI bot that creates tests for you and does a lot of cool things. Like it visualizes the data that we get from the responses. So that list of books that we got, we can visualize that in a table with AI. And you don't have to do a single bit of code. But that's really cool with Postman. And this is just a recap. We've gone over why you should learn about APIs. It's especially useful for all of you. A little bit of public APIs and then more about behind the scenes of what's going on. Maybe you've worked with APIs, but maybe you didn't know exactly what was going on and how it worked. And then we got to see a little bit more in depth of what APIs we can use and how we would really use them and get data from them. These are some resources that you can use. Thank you for watching all of this. We have a YouTube playlist with tons of different resources. We have lots of live streams that work with how to create projects. We do lots of those interactive workshops. So we have lots of those full projects, mini projects to watch that you can follow along. We also have documents at learning.postman.com. We have explore.postman.com and community, which is our forum page. We also have the workspace link. And if you ever have any public APIs that you want to use or you're just kind of in a rut and can't find any, we have this link for you. This is the GitHub link that we have. I'll also share this. you'll also see this in the slide deck that I send, but yeah, we have a GitHub list, and it stems from a bigger GitHub list of public APIs, but this is just vetted by us. So there's a lot. And yeah, I just want to plug Postman student programs again. We have 3 different types of programs under student programs. We have the student expert program, which is what you are all eligible for. This is a great way to learn more about APIs, get to work with them deeper, do test runs. We have so many different programs, different features within Postman that I didn't even get to cover yet. So yeah, you can scan the QR code. I'm also going to paste the link here. Let me actually do that right now before I forget. Yeah, but definitely recommend that you all sign up for the Student Expert Program. I would love to see you there. There's a Discord channel, which I'm also going to show you too. But if you want to learn more, there's the link at the bottom there. Definitely finish the program at your own pace. Don't feel rushed to do it at all. But get the certification at least. Put it on your resume for when it's time. If you are a high school student and you have this on and you already know how to use Postman, that is a big up for whenever it's time for you to internship hunt. So I know the grind, but this is a great resource and it's completely free and it honestly doesn't take that much time. So if you can, and if you're willing to, then definitely take that time to do it. And then once you're eligible or once you have a certification, you can be a student leader. And once you are in high school or end of high school or college, and you have student communities that you can share to, we would love to have you as a student leader, and we will support you and give you resources to run events. We have hackathons every once in a while, and we love to bring them on and bring those guest speakers and help us organize. So it's a really big responsibility, and we have a really tight-knit group that we love. So yeah, I would love to see some of you there. And then this is our Discord community, where if you're doing the student expert program, we do a lot of troubleshooting there. There's a lot of other students who are doing projects. We do mini hackathons in there, and we get a lot of word out in this. So definitely scan the QR code if you want to join. It's open to all, not just student experts, but yeah. And now we have a swag challenge. I'm glad you guys have made it so far. We have this swag opportunity to win swag. Just one thing that you need to do, you just need to share your learnings on Twitter, or I guess X now, or LinkedIn with the hashtag Postman Student and United Hacks. So once you have that tweet or that LinkedIn post, just share the link to me at lillian.knows@postman.com and with the subject swag contest. Get it in within a week, and then you might have the chance to win some swag, which is, I think, a $20 voucher to our Postman swag store. So it's not just random swag. You can just choose it out. We have some pretty cute things on there. I think our designs are really nice. So yeah, just might as well complete it. Yeah, so just make sure that it has the hashtag Postman Student or hashtag United Hacks. Thank you so much for listening. I know this is a very long-winded workshop with a lot of information thrown at you. But yeah, I would love any feedback that you have. I'll share the slides. You can take the feedback form. I would love to hear all of your feedback, good and bad. So yeah. Is there anything I can help you answer? Yeah, no problem. It was really nice to present to you. Anyone have any questions about anything specifically, or you can ask about me or anything about industry work? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so basically, before we continue, I just want to make sure that everyone remembers to fill out the attendance form. It's posted in the chat right now, and yeah, just make sure to fill it out to win some swag.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do have a LinkedIn. I can, if you just, my name is pretty unique. You'll find me. It's just Lillian Knows, say, but just spelled like Lillian Knows. So if you just look it up, then it should be there. But I can also get my LinkedIn too. But yeah, feel free to add me. I'm also going to add a link to the workshop here. I know that I put a lot of links out and haven't sent them yet. Oh yeah. What's it like working at Postman? Postman is honestly great. So I came from a huge company, obviously at Google, and then I came to Postman, which is a much smaller scale. I actually really enjoy it. I think working at a smaller scale, and it feels very startup-y. So they're very two different cultures. I really enjoy it. you take on a lot of different roles, I think, and you're responsible for a lot of things. So even though I'm doing developer advocacy work, I do a lot of technical work on the side. I get to do what I want. So I love doing workshops. I love working with students. So this is something that I got to take on. But yeah, it's great. The culture is amazing. Any other questions? Yeah, I think it all comes down to what kind of work style that you like, but yeah, but I hope this helped everyone. I hope the list of public APIs help you for your projects too. I know some of you are still brainstorming what to do, but yeah, APIs really open up a whole new world of things that you can create. So just get creative with it. And then definitely sign up for the student expert program, please. It would be great to see all of you complete it. But yeah, I can take any other questions, maybe just another few. Yeah, but if no one has any questions, but then it was great to present to all of you. I hope all of you do really well in your hackathon and that you create some really cool stuff. I would love to see all of it at the end. But yeah, if you want to see the slides after, you want to work with a workspace later. Yeah, do you think getting certificates help high school students getting? Yes, definitely. It's very difficult right now, especially in the market. Not to get depressing, but it is difficult in the market. There's a lot of students who are doing the same things. And certificates really help you stand out. And honestly, all of you here are doing hackathons in high school, middle school. You are ahead of the game. Like you are so far ahead of the game than you think. There are a lot of students who just start in college or even middle of college, and then it gets harder from there, you know? But the fact that you are here, you guys are all good. But yeah, if you do the certification, it is definitely something that is a plus one. Most industry professionals you saw, 90 or whatever the percentage was, use Postman. So they're very familiar with it. Knowing it is a very niche thing for industry workers. So it's kind of surprising to see that high schoolers are even aware of what Postman is or what APIs are. So definitely recommend. I think if I were recruiting, that would be something I would be looking for. But yeah, what do we put on the course program for the student program sign up? What does that mean? Sorry, let me look at what that is. Course program. If it doesn't, if it's not required, maybe you don't have to put it, but course program, I make sure you're doing student expert program because it might be, Oh, course or slash program. Okay. Course slash program, that's like, what's your major? Yeah. If you're not a major, you can just say NA or something, or you can just say computer science. But yeah, some of these are university based, so obviously it has like a major thing. You can put whatever in there. I'll try to keep note of it, but yeah. That sucks. Yeah, tons of cold emails. I completely feel I have a Notion page of a ton of applications from when I was searching for internships, but it's really rough. So I completely sympathize. Don't worry though. I feel like it's mainly because it's just a tough time right now. And also you are also a high schooler if you are a high schooler. It's harder. Yeah. Getting internships as high schoolers, the most that I've seen, it's not as common for sure. So no one feel bad if you don't have an internship. I know people who haven't had internships like all throughout college and they are working at great places. So it is not the end all be all. But if you do want an internship as a high schooler, it is significantly harder. There are some programs. I know Google has a high school program that is more so like a little bit of like a couple of weeks training thing. There are some high school programs specifically geared for high schoolers, but if you search up internships, those are usually going to be for like undergraduate students. But yeah, I would just recommend if you can ask around, maybe just working for someone that you know, and kind of just, I think any industry experience is useful. So if you're just shadowing someone that you know, maybe like, I don't know, maybe you're like a professor or a teacher at your school. Yeah, that's enough, honestly. Or I think when you're a high schooler, side projects are I don't know, side projects are king. If you can't get an internship, just create as much as you can. Whatever interests you, just let your passion show. And that'll really shine on a resume, honestly. So there's so many different paths into tech. There's not just one direct way. I think you all are going to do great. So, and I know we're a little bit over time, so I don't want to keep you. Let me see. Do you think that saying that I'm from high school will help me stand out? Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do. I would say definitely don't stop networking. I think saying that you are from high school will maybe stand out in terms of ambition, but I wouldn't say that they will take you if they're looking for undergraduate students. So there's no harm in networking. I think it's always great to have other people to talk to, and especially when you are of age to kind of like when they're looking for interns, like when you hit college, they'll remember you. So it's always great to have people that you can talk to for advice. Even if you don't get an internship from them, just learning from their expertise is something that's really valuable. So yeah, I wouldn't discourage you from that. Great, but yeah, I think it's that time. Yeah, thank you so much everyone for attending. Best of luck on your hackathon, and it was great to get to know all of you.